All right. And on that note, we are recording this, everyone. So if you need to leave at any point, this recording will be available for you in the future. So hi, welcome everyone. Webinar on growing an e-learning site with WooCommerce. We are very excited to bring this to you today. I'd like to welcome you. My name is Sam Greenspan. I'm on the marketing team here at GoDaddy, focused on our WooCommerce products, and I'll be your host for this webinar. And here's what we're going to cover today. So first of all, we're going to cover a lot of the trends in the e-learning space. The next thing we're going to cover is some of the basics and the fundamentals of setting up an e-learning site in WooCommerce. After that, we're going to get into a bunch of useful extensions and also strategies you can use as you're setting up your e-learning site. And finally, we're going to have our Q&A session. So any point throughout this webinar, you can submit Q&As. If you look over in the chat, you see there's a little tab for Q&A. You can go ahead and drop questions into there at any point, and then we will address them at the very end, all at once, just to keep everything organized. But go ahead and drop them in there anytime. You can also put them in the chat if the Q&A, for whatever reason, isn't working. We'll grab them out of there too. But either way, we look forward to answering your questions. And as I found the most relevant picture of people studying and learning that I could find, which is the cast of Saved by the Bell, I believe, from the episode where they take the SATs. So
a big e-learning episode, if I remember.
Exactly. And let me introduce you with that to our wonderful expert today. This is Nik McLaughlin. Nik is a technical account manager at GoDaddy. Nik, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. So like Sam said, I'm a technical account manager here at GoDaddy. I'm on the care team. So working with folks who are setting up their sites, mostly in like the WooCommerce space. Been around WooCommerce stuff I was trying to do the math ahead of this introduction. It's got to be like 6 or 7 years now, something like that, in various little corners of it. Also something of an avid e-learner myself, all the way just binging on YouTube to, more structured courses like the stuff we're going to talk today. But Wikipedia rabbit holes also, wow, big fan. Not a good LMS, as we'll find out.
No, but yes, a good place to lose an entire day of falling down a topic. Absolutely. So,
right.
Yeah, Nik is great with e-learning, and we are so happy to be able to help you out here and try to help you with your e-learning site, whether you're just getting started with one, whether you have a WooCommerce site and you want to add an e-learning element to it, whether you're already have a e-learning site and you want to expand it more. Hopefully we'll be able to cover everything you need today. And if there's something we don't hit on, again, just drop a question in and we'll try to hit it at the end. We're going to leave plenty of room for questions. So let's first start off with talking just a little bit about this e-learning market and just some stats about it to show you where the opportunity is here and just how big this is. So as you can see here from the market, the e-learning market is estimated to reach about $337 billion in US dollars worldwide in the next now 5 years. So it is growing and expanding. And something that may be relevant to you as well, if you're teaching classes that might appeal to corporate accounts, is that the global corporate e-learning market size should be about 50 billion by that time. So roughly 1/7 of the total market size, but it's still a pretty significant chunk. What we're focusing on today are learning management systems, or LMSs, or software as a service, SaaS-based e-learning sites, and they account for about 1/3 of the e-learning market share. So that's what anyone running it on WooCommerce will be doing. Other things that account for learning management system are, of course, those massive open online course sites. Those are MOOCs. That's is the abbreviation. Those are sites like Udemy and things of that ilk, and also paper classes and things like that, as well as all the colleges and universities out there who offer classes as well. There are a lot of places to learn things online, and we're going to get into that about standing out in this sea as we get into strategies. So there's an opportunity here. The median sale price for an online course, and this is very rough, but it is $76.50 US. That is a great sale price, especially for a digital product. So with essentially, unlimited scalability there. You record your lessons as long if you're doing a large portion of these pre-recorded lessons, and you can just sell them. Sorry, that is an alert on my screen. Didn't realize those were going to come up. Sorry about that, everyone. All right. There's a compound annual growth in the e-learning market of 9.1%. So that is great. Again, just a growing market. And 98% of U.S. corporations incorporate e-learning or plan to. So, Nik, do you have any thoughts about that market or that opportunity, things that jump out to you there that you want to comment on before we keep going on this?
Oh yeah. I think the place for like corporate e-learning is really like that. That's just taking off. I know I've seen it myself, and yeah, I think it provides a lot of structure to things that normally would get just kind of siloed in. These people over here kind of know this, but there's no real way to disseminate that information. So within like a corporate structure, I think that's a really valuable thing that a lot of people are catching on to. And I mean, as you've shown in the numbers, like it's there, it's growing and becoming even more. I'm really surprised by that 98% number. That seems huge, but I don't know how many of those are in the planning to stage. Also, like I said, lots of growth happening around that lately.
Yeah, it's definitely growing, and I think that I saw a lot of stats here. I didn't include them in the slide, but there are just a lot of stats about how valuable companies are finding e-learning as a way to for training, for retention, for engagement for employees. So there's a big opportunity there for e-learning if you're doing courses that are any sort of topic that might appeal to corporate, whether it's a topic that directly related to their business or other sort of adjacent topics, things like productivity or or focus or mindfulness, whatever it may be. There's a lot of other areas. And of course, the pandemic has had an effect on all industries. E-learning was one that really saw an interesting change during the pandemic. E-learning grew 36.3% last year, which is just a accelerated amount of growth, as you can see, compared to how it was growing before. The massive online open course sites saw enormous jumps. There was a mix of that. Of course, distance learning became a thing last year. Students everywhere were learning remotely. But also there's a big focus now on upskilling. And that's the term. I had actually never heard that term before, but that's the term for people who have a job, have a career path, who want to take on a new skill. So that could have been anything from, if you're learning to code to learning to bake. These are all just different skills that people want to have. Some will be relevant to their jobs, some just skills they want to have, but that became a very big focus for a lot of people during the past year. So as we move on, now, of course, we've talked about this huge market, but anytime there's a market that's growing and lucrative with such potential to scale, there are going to be challenges. The first one is differentiation. There's competition here. There are more than 128,000 plus sites in the US using a learning management system, an LMS, and 284,000 worldwide. And that's not even counting the MOOC sites. So that's not counting the Udemy's of the world. So there are a lot of individual websites using learning management systems. And because of that, the average marketing costs for a learning site become a fairly good chunk of your revenue. The average marketing cost for a course is 18.5% of the revenue for that course. So it's going to take a real investment in what you're taking in to get more people coming in. Nik, any thoughts on those two differentiation stats, or more of the challenge of differentiating, standing out in this growing and somewhat crowded market?
Yeah, it's really tough. I think, messages of like expertise can go a long way in that. If you're able to show that you're the reason, you're the one that people that should go to learn about this. It's really key. Like you said, that also takes a lot of investment though, like the word of mouth marketing. I know we have some plans to talk about that later as well. But is really invaluable at this point to try and stretch those marketing dollars as far as you can, because Right, exactly. There's just so much competition. The bonus of that maybe is that with e-learning specifically, it's really easy. You have a really natural transition from something like a social media platform to your e-learning content, where that word of mouth is spreading on social media and can easily kind of transition people in. Whereas getting somebody to sign up for a college class that they have to attend in person, there's a few more barriers there.
For sure. However, that does take us into the next challenge, which is the engagement and retention. So you found a way to get people to take your course, and that is fantastic. And that's a big part of the battle. However, there is an issue with people completing online courses they take. The self-paced learning market is on a gradual decline, in fact, because of students not completing their courses. Completion numbers are considered a widespread issue, but they're held very close to the vest. So we had a number of us trying to dig in and find good numbers on this. Completion numbers are dicey enough that I would say that most places refuse to report them. We were only able to find one real study that found an average completion rate, and that put it at only 13%. So roughly 7 out of 8 people who start an online course don't wind up completing it. That's not great because, again, like Nik said, you want that word of mouth. You want people to recommend a good course they took. Also, for retention for your site, odds are, your goal is not just to make one course and sell one course. I think it may start that way, but over time, you may want to grow more courses, as we're going to get into a lot here. There's memberships, and you're going to want to build this community, give your members of your learning site a lot of reasons to come back. And if they're not completing the courses, that's taking away arguably the biggest reason they signed up, and that's going to hurt your retention. And then you're going to have to spend more money on getting new customers. And so it becomes sort of a vicious cycle for you as you're trying to replenish your audience. So Nik, what are your thoughts about engagement, retention, and the difficulties there?
Yeah, retention's huge. I think when you're spending so much on the marketing to get people in the door, that 18.5% average, you want that to pay off. You want that to last. Once they're there, you want them to stick around. I know there's a lot of I think there's a lot of figuring out in the e-learning industry of, is completion percentage really the number that's going to tell us retention, right? Like that's the idea, like you said, is that's a measure of, are people sticking around? So there is some room to argue there. I think that maybe a student doesn't complete their course, but that's because they moved on to another one already. If you're still seeing the engagement and the retention there, maybe that completion number isn't the end all be all, but it's certainly an indication of some of the challenges that the industry is facing.
Yeah, and absolutely. And also the good news is, as we get deeper into this webinar and we discuss strategies, we're going to discuss strategies for engagement and retention, getting people to complete classes, differentiating your classes. And finally, we'll address the last challenge, which is the technology. So there are a lot of LMS options, learning management system options out there. It's tough to choose. Which one should you choose? We'll have a few good recommendations for WooCommerce sites that we'll get into, and we're going to really focus on in this webinar. And we're also going to talk about then, once you have your learning management system, a lot of these will take some sort of tech stack. You're going to need to bundle it, use other extensions in order to get the most out of your site, and we're going to get into those too. Also, for everyone who's just joining us, I know I've seen that we've been having people come in, which is fantastic. Another reminder, you can drop questions at any point. Anytime something comes to your mind, drop them in our little Q&A over there in the chat window. And we're going to address all the questions at the end, whatever you may wonder about this topic, something that's related to what we're talking about, even something about e-learning that's not related to something we talked about, but you're curious about, you can go ahead and drop that in the chat. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch the full thing if you need to come and go. So, all right, now we're going to talk about addressing some of these challenges. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, all right, let's set up the e-learning site in WooCommerce. What are we going to use there? Let's get into the fundamentals. We're going to recommend 2 different LMS platforms for you. And the first one we're going to talk about today is Sensei LMS, which is a great way to create courses and quizzes within WordPress. And Nik, would you like to tell everyone all the fundamentals and everything great about Sensei LMS?
Yeah, so like you said, it's really, Sensei is actually, I think you have it on the slide there. Yeah, made by Automatic. Those are the same folks that that own and operate WooCommerce. So it's very well integrated. If you're running a WooCommerce site, it's very easy to get Sensei added in there. It's a free plugin, so that's a super bonus on jump starting into figuring out what e-learning might look like on your site. One of the cool things about Sensei, they have some pretty basic like fundamentals to get you started, and then have a whole bunch of free add-ons as well that can expand the functionality. It's it's again made by Automatic. It's a very WooCommerce minded platform in its modularity and granularity, that you can add this little piece or that little piece. And I know we'll talk more about some of those add-ons and what all you can do with that later. But it's a really great starting point to kind of open up the world of e-learning on your site and start to get a little more out of that and be able to grow and expand as you get more into it and figure out kind of more what you're looking for as well.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's free, it starts free, is really about a really big benefit for someone who's just getting started, because you can start with Sensei and you can start building your courses, experimenting, getting familiar with the platform before you put down the money for other extensions or many LMSs which are paid. You can really just get going with it. I know that I tend to gravitate toward things where I can use them for free for quite a while as I'm getting started on them. As a sort of for better or worse perfectionist, I would like to tinker and make everything look great before I start. And a ticking clock of a free trial or whatever it may be sometimes doesn't sit quite as well with me as just, all right, I can play with this. I can get to know this. I can evaluate this. So I really like that. And as we have on the slide here too, another great thing about Sensei is it's going to have native integrations with WooCommerce memberships and WooCommerce subscriptions, both of which we're going to talk about at length here today, as those are both pretty fundamental parts as well of really running an e-learning community. And we will get into those more as we go further. And now let's talk about the other learning management system platform that we're going to recommend today, and that is LearnDash. So Nick, do you want to talk about LearnDash and what it's got going for it? And then after that, we can sort of compare and contrast it with Sensei a little bit.
Yeah. LearnDash is just a huge name in the LMS e-learning space. You probably heard of them before, and if not, we're glad to introduce you. They are built in to work on any WordPress site. And really a really full featured offering as far as building out a full learning platform. I was just kind of looking into some of their latest features ahead of this and really impressed. From just the whole interface, I guess, like it's very drag and drop intuitive, easy to piece together. Once you get your content plugged into the database there, it's really easy to kind of repeat and set up new courses and stuff like that. Solid opportunity. Really, we've got the price tag there. It is a bit more of an investment that you're getting into, but especially if the e-learning is the main thing that you want to do on your site, this is a great way to go. I see Beth over there saying that she's using it. She's loving it. LearnDash is pretty phenomenal, super user friendly in its setup and getting you up and running. I see we're bragging on it right there. The focus mode that they've released in their latest is just a really good presentation mode, essentially for learners to help them get more engaged in the content that they're learning. And overall, it's just a really well-designed system, both from the learner perspective and from the admin management. Yeah,
and with LearnDash, obviously LearnDash and Sensei are both have a lot going for them, which is why we've recommended them here. They both have really good integrations with WordPress and then really good integrations with WooCommerce when you want to sell courses.
Right.
So Nick, you want to talk a little bit about the differences, why someone might opt for LearnDash versus Sensei or vice versa?
Yeah. I think, and this was actually something else I wanted to talk about with LearnDash. They have a little bit more built in than Sensei does. So LearnDash, for example, can integrate natively with like Stripe and PayPal, and I think they have another gateway or two as well, that you can sell your courses just with LearnDash, and integrating it with these payment gateways. Whereas something like Sensei will be able to get you up and running and get your content on your site, but you'll need to rely more heavily on that WooCommerce integration in order to make sales. That said, with LearnDash as well, you can expand that and integrate with WooCommerce to give yourself more control over the checkout experience. Really great if you want to start offering things beyond just the courses on your site. But I would say, yeah, in comparison, LearnDash is really built out feature-wise around your LMS and around your e-learning. Sensei is something that's going to allow you to add e-learning on to what you're already doing, or get that up and running pretty quickly, pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that you're right on there. With Sensei has that same philosophy that you get with WordPress and WooCommerce, which is we're going to give you a really solid engine for this car, but you're going to want to add all the other parts as you need them, right? And whereas LearnDash comes a little more fully built out. It has some more. It has a lot more optional add-ons that interface with different other apps all over the board. You know, email apps and message board apps and everything you could think of. It comes with a lot more of those built out. There's ways to do all those in Sensei, but much like with WooCommerce or WordPress, you're gonna build them out together. Not to say with LearnDash you're gonna build them out, but it's a little more in there already. Again, I think that for someone who's just getting started out, I think that the fact that Sensei is free to get started with indefinitely is going to be a very appealing, because that's going to let you really get your feet wet. If you've never done any sort of e-learning, never built any sort of courses, you're going to want to do that. LearnDash is more of an investment. As you see here, it starts at $159 a year, and that's for the most basic package. It's going to go up from there. And that's not counting some of the paid and premium add-ons they have there. So it's going to be a little bit more of an investment right out of the gate. And so that's going to be something that I think is going to make people think about it. And as Beth said right here in the chat, she said, the LMS you choose all depends on your specific requirements, which is why you need to fully vet before shopping. We fully agree. We're going to continue to try to help people, guide them down the right path on that, and really go over what these each have to offer. As we continue into this webinar too, we're going to talk about some of the add-ons for both of them, and just, really help people try to hone in on what's important to them. So Nik, any other thoughts on LearnDash versus Sensei in terms of starting before we get on to the next few fundamental parts of starting an LMS and an e-learning site?
Yeah. I think this lands a little bit more on the technical side, but I would say something to look out for whenever you're looking to add a big feature like this to your site is theme compatibility. If you're working with WordPress, WooCommerce, you're familiar with that being kind of one of the compatibility always being top of mind. Both of the platforms are really great about working with different themes. I know Sensei, being made by WooCommerce, has native, I think it's like included in the files of Sensei, like integrations with all of the default WordPress and WooCommerce themes. LearnDash has also done a ton of work to make sure, I think they advertise on their site, like any theme will work, which is bold. And, I'll let them say that. I don't want to say it. That seems like a little much, but the fact of the matter is, like, they've done a lot of work to support that, and they will continue to, support and expand that. If you are having trouble, just, like we were saying, as you're doing your homework, as you're vetting these, another thing to keep in mind, how's this going to look? Is this going to integrate with the technology I already have in place?
Right. That's a great point. And I know with LearnDash, with their focus mode, it's really easy to customize things like the colors of that. They've focused so heavily on the layout, and they just want to make it match your site. But theme compatibility is always a thing. And I have seen some, as you read reviews on Sensei, some people do wonder whether, it will work with every theme. that's another thing to definitely test out. The good thing again
Right.
about Sensei is it's free, so you can definitively find out at no cost to you, other than having to download it and install it, how it looks with your theme, which is a nice benefit. And so that's something absolutely always something good to keep in mind as we're doing this. No one wants to have to change their entire theme because they fall in love with an extension and then it doesn't quite work right. We see that, and that's always tough. So let's move on to the next parts of the fundamentals. Now we're going to talk a little bit about, okay, you've picked your LMS. Now let's talk about the business, the site in general. The first thing we want to talk about is WooCommerce memberships. This is the premier way to offer memberships on a WooCommerce site. And so, Nik, I'd love if you could talk about WooCommerce memberships, just a little bit about the extension itself, and then, of course, how and why someone would use it with an e-learning site.
Yeah. So this is one of the big bonuses of this what we're talking about today. Really specifically setting up e-learning on WooCommerce is that you can take advantage of extensions like memberships. We're going to talk about subscriptions in a minute as well. You can use these to build out additional functionality beyond just the learning platform itself. So memberships is really good. Is built for like controlling content restriction on your site, essentially. So if you have something that you only want certain folks to be able to access, you can restrict whatever it is, whether that's the courses themselves or other products, just certain pages of content on the site. You can even get really granular and mark off with short codes, like specific little segments of a page that only show up for members. Or that only show up for people who aren't members, to try and kind of elbow them into it. Really solid for any sort of like I want to distinguish between who's seeing what on my site. And again, that goes beyond just the courses into anything else that you have there. I think within the course world itself, though, you have things like we have on the slide, the dripping content, teams and email contact and stuff like that. The drip content stuff in memberships is really solid. You set a time frame. Basically, you say somebody starts their membership, okay, a week from now they'll have access to this next piece, and then 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now we'll hit them with another one. This is a huge retention strategy, right? Like keeping new content coming to members. They feel like they're paying for something. They feel like they're getting something for their money, and they're more incentivized to stick around and see what the next thing coming is, or get to that next level if you've already teased it for them.
Right. What we'll generally say is, when it comes to an e-learning site, if you're planning to offer anything beyond courses, whatever it may be with your site, either now or you think, in your sort of master plan for the future of your e-learning site, you might want to offer something other than courses, it's probably a good idea to use WooCommerce memberships as you're getting started, or use WooCommerce memberships as your way of managing your members and your students and gating your content, just because it's such a powerful and flexible extension to run a full-featured membership site. If you're using something like Sensei, which of course is free, you're going to need a way to now turn this into paid courses as you're trying to run a business with WooCommerce. And to do that, you'll use a combination of WooCommerce memberships and what we'll talk about next, which is WooCommerce subscriptions. If you're using LearnDash, now they do have the option with LearnDash where you can do billing and whatnot through LearnDash. However, if you want to expand beyond just the learning, so let's say, Nik gave a few examples, but there's so many more things you can do with WooCommerce memberships. If you want to start, offering premium content that's not courses necessarily, but things you only want to offer students, that's something you could use WooCommerce memberships for. If you want to start selling products and you want to only offer those products to your students, or you want to give only people who are students at your courses a discount on those products, or the ability to download them for free, whatever it may be, that's another good case for WooCommerce memberships. It's just a really versatile way that you can expand your e-learning site if you want to go beyond the courses. But even if you're just doing courses, it's still a really good way to regulate your members, who's taking what, how often they're seeing, as Nik said, the dripping content, which will bring us back to that whole retention issue. there's a tendency where we get to a site, you subscribe to a site most of the time now, whatever it may be, whether it's Netflix or anything else, and you go and as soon as you subscribe, you instantly have access to the infinite content library for which they provide. And that's cool, but it doesn't guide you on a path. And it seems overwhelming at first. You get through the initial things, and then you find yourself sort of, sometimes you can find yourself running out of options or having all sorts of things happen. With dripping content, you can kind of obviate that issue by now giving people content at a pace. It incentivizes them to stay on a path. It incentivizes them to stay members. So, Nik, anything else come to mind for you on using WooCommerce memberships and its the abilities to use that when you're doing your e-learning site?
Yeah, I like that you highlighted getting that going early as a way to manage your members in this case, but also be those students or just site members who have paid for whatever premium content you're offering. Getting that up early, so then you don't have to worry about transitioning people over or anything like that is pretty key. And you can always roll out new content to those existing members by adding new rules. I think, we're kind of looking at that on the image there, adding new restriction rules, adding new products, adding new discounts. That's one of the greatest things about memberships is from a retention standpoint is you can always make it fresh. You can always bring new elements in and incorporate those in the existing membership structure that you have.
That's right. And now we're going to talk about our next extension, which really works hand in hand with WooCommerce memberships with an e-learning site and beyond, and that's WooCommerce subscriptions. So, Nik, you want to talk a little bit about what WooCommerce subscriptions can do, how it works with memberships, why they work together, and then the use cases here for e-learning sites.
Yeah. So subscriptions, if memberships is keeping all of your members in a row and deciding what they can see, subscriptions is the billing that makes that a business, essentially. So subscriptions is what opens up like automated billing for you. So with memberships by itself, you can have a paid membership plan that somebody has to purchase a product on your site, which could be another product that you then want to grant them this complimentary membership on top of complimentary. Or it can just be the plan access itself that they're purchasing. And that's in like a one-off case. So you can then if they want to renew that, they're going to have to purchase it again. So the integration with subscriptions is going to allow you to set up like automated billing where somebody has a card on their account, and that's going to get charged every month, year, whatever your billing period is, whatever makes sense for your learning setup, to maintain that membership status. And these, like you said, these two plugins are really well integrated. And so you can tie membership status directly to subscription status. So if somebody, when they make the payment on their subscription, they then have access to these things. If that's lapsed, then we're going to pause their access while they make that payment. Again, kind of turning what would just be an access model into an ongoing business model. Subscriptions are huge for retaining revenue. You talk about like lifetime value of a customer goes up hugely. I don't see us having numbers on like specifically like subscriptions growth more broadly kind of outside of e-learning, but I think anecdotally most of us are aware of all of the explosive growth of subscription everything fever that's gone on in the last couple of years. You can get a subscription box of whatever you want delivered to your door. And that's for good reason. That's because, once you've signed up and they have the card on file, I don't want to sound too cynical about this, I guess, once they get you. But it's real that lifetime value, the friction to stay a subscriber or to stay a member is really low. And if you're offering a service that folks want, and if you're able to introduce new content as you go along for your subscribers and your members, you're not, just getting them by the wallet, you're actually delivering value. And this is what's going to allow you to start to build out that program.
Right. And another great thing that you can do here with WooCommerce subscriptions that a lot of people are interested in doing for their e-learning site is offering free trials. Subscriptions gives you the option to do that. And that's really great. And as Nik said, just to, with WooCommerce memberships, so if your membership is just a product at your WooCommerce store. So it's a one-off product. With WooCommerce subscriptions, now you can turn that into a recurring thing that someone purchase it, will continue to get, so that you don't have to do that with reminding them. And Beth is pointing out the prices. Don't worry, Beth. We will have it. We will have some options for when it comes to the prices that we'll get into later. But yes, these are both super premium plugins that you're running. But the reason is because these are two of the most full-featured WooCommerce extensions that are out there that can do so much and are such fundamental, as we've put them in the fundamentals. These are cornerstone extensions of a business. So yes, these are super premium. But don't worry, we'll have a little price thing for you at the end. That's a real hot tease in this business. All right, Nik. Any other thoughts, real quick, on memberships or subscriptions before we move on to the next section?
I don't think I do. I feel like the presenter thing is I have to yes and you, but yep. I feel like we've done a really good job. Yeah, the free trials was one that I wanted to point out as well, but you got it.
Yep. Nope. It's all good. You don't worry if there's no yes and, there's just no yes and to be had. But yes, you were dead on with the subscriptions thing. By the way, we do have a study that we found that about 3 out of 4 direct-to-consumer WooCommerce businesses, or e-commerce businesses rather, say that within the next few years they plan to offer some sort of subscription model. That's a study that found. So everyone's seeing the value in subscriptions, because it's all about, as you're seeing, customer acquisition is tough. As the ad market continues to become more difficult, things get more competitive. Retaining your customers, subscriptions is a great way to get that steady, recurring retention revenue into a business. So yes, subscriptions are big. I know, Nik, that back in one of your early WooCommerce days, when you were running an ice cream shop, right?
Yes.
You guys did. You sold subscription ice cream, by the way.
Yeah. So if you're a little concerned that your business model might not be quite a fit for the subscription model, we did it with ice cream, and it was a pretty big hit. So it can be done. Like I said, a box of anything. Right. We kept it frozen. That was probably the biggest challenge, actually, but that's more on the logistical side.
Well, I'm all about subscription ice cream. So all right, let's all right, now we're going to talk, and we're going to move into some other now WooCommerce memberships, WooCommerce extensions for e-learning. So these are ones that now you can add on. Now that we've got the fundamental pieces down, you've got your LMS, you figured out how you're going to manage your students, how you're going to manage your billing. Let's talk about some other options. So first of all, we're going to talk about both Sensei and LearnDash, as we alluded to earlier, have a lot of add-ons. So the first one we're going to talk about, Sensei, which does not have as many add-ons as LearnDash, but has its own. Many of these are free. Nik, you want to just get into just a little bit about Sensei's? We've put them all on screen, the 7 of them up on screen here.
Yeah, that is, I think, the full list. And yeah, there's a mix of free and paid add-ons there. These can be pretty core elements, I think, depending on what exactly your LMS needs are. I think, talking about Sensei as maybe the more like lightweight, get you up and running program, these are the add-ons can be a lot more central to what you're actually trying to do. Whereas maybe, something like LearnDash that starts out really full featured, the add-ons are going to take you, to the next level. But something here like, Sensei has its own content dripping add-on, or course progress, just so you can put a little visual tag on your site so folks can track how far they're getting through it. Obviously, they can still progress through the courses without that add-on, but being able to see that and track it, it adds that extra little bit of stimulus. Again, this is all about pushing completion rates and retention. I'm looking through a few of these other ones if there's any I really need to highlight. Certificates can be a huge one. Again, that depends maybe a little more on your specific use case. But there's definitely, that can be a make or break for some folks, where if there's not something at the end that somebody's getting to say that they completed the course, then it's kind of a question of was it worth their time? And that's also, again, a great way to push completion rates, even if it's maybe not a official professional certificate from a licensing organization or something like that. Being able to still have that badge on your wall to say like, okay, I completed this thing, will push people towards those completion rates.
Right. And I would like to point out here that WooCommerce paid courses is on there. We just want to clarify that is WooCommerce paid courses is a paid add-on for Sensei that you can use to sell courses. However, you wouldn't need that, or you can use that or memberships basically. And they cost about the same. And since memberships is more full featured, that's why we've been recommending WooCommerce memberships as the way to take your Sensei free courses and now turn them into paid courses. Likewise with Sensei Content Drip, that would be redundant if you're using something like memberships. Right. So that's again why we figured membership sort of encapsulates those and with a little more of a robust solution, which is why we recommended that. So these are Senseis. We're going to get now. We can get into LearnDashes, which again, as we said, there are a lot more of them. This is not an exhaustive list of them. This is just a one screenshot of them, but there are lots of them here. I know in the chat, someone earlier mentioned Gamipress, which we're going to actually talk about quite a bit coming soon. I call that a great minds think alike moment for this, but that's one I see on there. Nik, you want to just talk about all the LearnDash integrations and extensions, and the ones here and beyond that they offer.
Yeah. So several of these are, kind of the things that I had mentioned, where it's, just taking your LMS and pushing it a little bit further. So I see like notes or gradebook, where, I mean, those can be pretty core depending on what you're doing. But from the platform as a whole, they're just kind of adding the next level. The other thing that a lot of LearnDash extensions are doing, though, is integrating with other services. So you'll see some other logos appear in their list. On here, we're looking at MailChimp, Gamipress, BadgeOS, like ConvertKit. These are all other features, their own full-bodied thing that you're working with that now you can integrate with your courses. It's a lot of flexibility that it gives you, so it's kind of hard to pin down into a soundbite. But there's so much. Like you said, this is a small selection of one screenshot of what is, I don't know the number, but it was like 4 pages the last time I was looking for an integration with LearnDash and trying to find it. There's a lot there, which is great. Again, this is really going to allow you to build out those extra features that the core base might not allow for. Exactly.
There's a lot here, and you can see this is a representative sample showing you. All right, this is a learning management system that's pretty lived in, right? There's been a lot of thought into how all of these things integrate with it. Again, this may be a consideration as you're going forward. If you want something, Nik said it at the top, LearnDash is one of the giants of this business, and there's a reason for it. And so it's got all of this going. Not that you can't replicate all or at least most of this with, Sensei and other extensions, but for LearnDash, they're all right here in front of you. So something to keep in mind as well as you're picking your LMS and you're starting to set up your site and your system. So let's move on to some more extensions. Gamipress, as we talked about, gamification is a really important element that we wanted to address here as we talk about strategies and getting back to that list of challenges that we presented right at the top of the webinar. The challenges in this case being, how do you get people to stick with your courses? How do you get people to finish them? And gamification is a great way to do so. So Nik, do you want to talk about gamification and using Gamipress because it works with both Sensei and LearnDash to do so?
Right. Yeah, it does. Integrations with both of our featured platforms today. Just a great one. So I guess a little more broadly on the gamification. Right. Like we're just going to keep hitting this point home. It's the retention rates. It's keeping folks around. It's incentivizing, that next little step. The gamification is always just that mindset, I think, of design is always about getting what's the next step for the user. And you can do that with Gamipress through, they have point systems, is it badges? I forget what they're, achievement systems. And then you can also achieve ranks and things. It's great. I was doing a little more homework on this one than the others, just because I was a little less familiar with it, and I hooked. I think it's incredible. Yeah, so incentivizing retention, completion rates by giving your learners that next step to go a little bit further. We've got the stat on here. Gamification for adult learners, they're going to score 14% higher in knowledge assessments after the fact. So that's on top of the retention and the completion, that they're sticking with the course and they're sticking around your site. They're also retaining that knowledge better and scoring higher on the assessments that follow. Sorry, I think I need to get some water. Sam,
go for it.
What do you have to say about Gamipress?
Sure, go for it, Nick. Yeah. So Gamipress, there's a lot of one, it is free to use on your site. Two, as Nick said, beyond just even adding the gamification elements to your lessons, which is great, you can also extend it and use gamification around the rest of your site as well. So you can use it to incentivize people to make purchases at your store, to recommend your courses, to share your courses or your other products. Just a really full-featured thing. As we investigated the different gamification options and the ones that we've tested, the ones we've used, and the e-learning sites we've built out, the ones we've worked with, other sites on building, Gamipress continues to get the best reviews of this of any of the genre. So just really highly recommend Gamipress if you're looking to add any sort of extra little feature to your e-learning site in terms of making people feel like they get a little reward for completing something. It plays right into that human psychology thing where we just love getting that little dopamine boost of getting a reward. Even if it's no matter what it is, there's just something that our brains just want to strive to complete it. So just double thumbs up for me on this one and adding it to your site. And again, because it's free, there are some paid add-ons you can use with Gamipress, but in general, I think that with your incorporating into either of these LMSs, I'm not sure that you would need any of the paid extensions. So this is just all upside as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. One of those paid extensions that I just completely nerded out about when I saw it, when I was doing my homework for this, and specific to a WooCommerce integration setup where you're selling either other courses or other products on your site. Gamipress has an add-on that allows you to or that lets you allow your students, your learners, to use their points that they've earned through Gamipress to purchase items on your site. So it's the points gateway. It's brilliant. So it's more than just like I got a point and what does that mean? If you've built out this system and then you're still having trouble with maybe the later down the road retention where folks have the highest rank and then they're like, oh, now what? Giving them that extra boost of okay, now I can start to use this, and you control the exchange rate and everything. So it's not, somebody's not suddenly, I don't know, hyperinflating the cost of your courses or something like that. You have tight controls over that. But it's a really cool additional tool to give some more value to folks that have really stuck around. That's again, building out this retention model, but also, again, adding value to reward folks who have been with you.
Absolutely. And we have a few more extensions we want to talk through. We're going to go through these pretty quick because I do want to leave time for Q&A, and we are past the 45-minute mark into the hour here. We had a lot to say about this. I figured we would, but this is really cool stuff. So we're going to go through these pretty quick so we make sure we have enough time to answer some questions. Hosting live classes, another retention thing. There's no super duper simple way to do this. Nick, do you want to talk really quick through the solutions for both LearnDash and Sensei of how you can add live classes and strategies behind those live classes? I don't even know if we can do this quick, but I know.
I was just thinking this was the one that I was like, okay, we better have a lot of time to talk about this. It is unfortunately pretty complicated. Obviously, there's hacky ways that you can work around it by just sending somebody a link to your Zoom meeting or something like that. But there are integrations with LearnDash, Sensei, both. We have them on the slides here, so catch that in the recording for sure. and look into that further. Most of them are working through Zoom, and then just some kind of integration to get people the invite and manage who's allowed into the Zoom room, essentially. One of the points that we have on there that I really wanted to touch on is, kind of creating these cohorts. The thing that hosting a live class allows you to do is to bring folks together and create a learning community, rather than just, especially in e-learning, the sort of expected stereotype maybe is that, it's kind of an advantage of e-learning is the self-paced nature of it, that allows you to kind of do the thing that you want at your own pace whenever you want. Bringing folks together also has a big advantage in building accountability. We're going to say the word retention again. I don't know if I'm going to forget that's a word by the end of this. And hosting live classes is a really good way to do that, where they can see each other in an e-learning environment, kind of get the closest you can to that in-person experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's great for retention, getting people using start dates, teaching live classes. You're going to need that. You're going to need some webinar type broadcasting software, and then an integration again, as we talked about earlier. There's going to be a stack of extensions you use for hosting an e-learning site. In both cases here, we showed the Zoom way to do this. It is possible. And we'll make sure that, if you have any questions beyond that on this, please drop them in the Q&A because we could talk about it there. But yes, hosting live classes, like Nik said, great for retention. Another one, social login. Nik, social login as a useful tool for e-learning.
Yeah, this one's a little more straightforward. I think, I know for myself, I haven't done the study, but apparently 77% of people agree with me that, using a social login is just so much easier. It's reducing that friction, that sign up friction of, I can just associate this with an account that already exists. I don't have to fill out new data that's going to live on this new site. And then I have to keep track of a new password and all of this stuff. It's a lot. Social login plugin is a WooCommerce extension, really great at letting folks, lots of options. I think that's all of them listed there. I can't think of any that are missing that we offer.
Those 9 cover some like almost all internet users have one of those 9 logins.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
And you don't have to do all 9 of them. I know it looks a little messy when you see all 9 options. You can choose a few that make sense for your folks. But yeah, really great way to get people in the door and make it easy for them to make an account and start having fun on your site.
Right. And another good thing, I know that I've used e-learning sites in the past, and one of the things that prohibits me from jumping back into a lesson after a little while is trying to remember what I used as my, which email address I used, what password I used. So to be able to just click login to create my account and link it to Google, and then log back in with that is just such a time saver. I've become such a big fan of using social logins wherever I can to both create accounts and to, sign back into sites. And so really just another great way. Getting rid of things that might keep people from coming back to your site, because that's what we're all about here. And of course, social login works great with memberships. So if you're using memberships to regulate, social login works great with that too. Product Reviews Pro, Nik, talking about the way that you want to use advanced product reviews in order to help grow your e-learning site.
Yeah, so we finally get to say the other big word that we set ourselves up with, which was differentiation. For me, product reviews are where that's at. Being able to read through what people have seen and get an overall view of how the course is received is massive in being able to just start to get over the decision fatigue and decide on, okay, is this the right course for me, or is this other one that has all the same keywords in its title the right course for me? This is a huge way to turn your already existing revenue into a marketing plan, essentially, by saying, okay, here's folks that have already enjoyed this, that have already gotten something out of it. The plugin itself is really slick. WooCommerce does have some of its own native review functionality, and this just kind of ramps that up to the next level. You've got, the stars, the likes, the media attachments. Folks can add on images of things that they've created in the course or something like that. Really, really great way to expand on that existing review feature.
Right. Yeah. With standard WooCommerce comes with great built-in product reviews in its core, but with an extension like Product Reviews Pro that allows you to ask prompting questions where people can add media uploads, people can sort reviews better, things like that. Those can really make a difference, especially when you're trying to stand out in a crowded field like e-learning. So, the better reviews you can get, hopefully the better you'll get that social proof. Moving on to the next, affiliate for WooCommerce. Nick, you want to talk about using an affiliate program in order to help with your e-learning?
I think between this and social login, we're really getting into a lot of the sort of word of mouth social marketing opportunities that can help you kind of face that oversaturated market challenge, right? So affiliate for WooCommerce, you can get, affiliate folks. Wow, why am I losing that word?
It was the word folks.
Affiliate people, affiliated friends of friends and friends.
Yeah, we're getting late into this. You start losing
it's the speed round pressure that's really on me. But again, you're leveraging you're allowing other folks to leverage their position as influencers to promote your courses. You're bringing them on board to do some of that word of mouth marketing for you. And affiliate for WooCommerce is a great way to manage that program. It's not going to connect you with the people that you need to connect with. You're going to have to do some of that marketing research on your own to see who that is and where the opportunities lie for you. But if you're wanting to manage that and track sales coming in through those channels, it's a great way to do it.
Yep. All right. Next up, let's talk cart add-ons for e-learning.
Yeah, cart add-ons are huge. So again, this is another one of those kind of built-in WooCommerce features, like turned up to 11. So WooCommerce on its own has upsell and cross-sell features on the product page. So you can set up these related associated products to show up there to say, hey, are you looking at this course? Maybe you'll be interested in this other one. That can sometimes be a little bit distracting though, right? Like if I'm trying to find, if I haven't made the purchase decision on this product yet, that could be taking me away from a decision that I could be making on that page. So one way to work around that is to move those later on onto the cart page. So now the customer's already made the decision that they're at least real interested in this course. And then you're hitting them with, okay, here are some other things that you might want to bring on with that. We have the stat here, 30% contribution through related product recommendations. So that's not just with the cart add-ons, but that's the kind of feature that we're adding here, is you can either bring on some other related courses in the same subject matter that you're trying to sell. If you don't want to fully bundle them, but you still want folks to have some association between them, or other products that might go with your course. So if there are supplies or something that are required, or equipment that's required to complete the course, this is a great spot to be like, hey, you're going to need this, and catch that before they hit the checkout page when they're already putting in their cart info.
Oh, it's a great call, Nick. I didn't even think of that use of this. So that's a great idea. And cart add-ons, definitely just a good way. You can set it on a product by product level to recommend the right thing. When someone adds a product to their cart, they're already interested. Now you can hook them for something else. And if there's something about one of your courses that appeals to them, hopefully there's something about another one of your courses or what you're selling appeals to them. And finally, let's talk Google Analytics Pro and why you might want to use Google Analytics Pro add-on for an e-learning site.
Yeah. Gosh, this is the holy grail of tracking, of analytics, of figuring out what's going on your site, where are people moving around. The plugin itself connects to your existing Google Analytics account. So you might already have some basic tracking happening on your site. This is going to let you plug into a lot of the WooCommerce features specifically. I think we're even showing it in the slide there. Yeah, the e-commerce tracking. So you can get a lot more information on your checkout funnel, where are people, your checkout behavior, where are people, making purchases from, what's linking them to that, and start to tailor some of your marketing and site improvements and even course improvements and things like that around the actual behavior of actual users of your site, and not just an idea that you had ahead of time. So once you're up and running, this data becomes so valuable in making any sort of decision making around your site.
Absolutely. Spotting issues in your checkout flow, seeing if you're losing people, and where you're losing them, seeing if your average order values, what products are selling, just all valuable. All right, everyone. So we are 1 minute till the top of the hour. Nik and I can stay, and we will stay and answer all the questions you have. You're welcome to stay as well, but obviously you signed up for an hour. We don't want to hold you hostage here. And as we said, this video will be available. It's going to go out to your email. It's also going to be available on the events page for this at events.godaddy. So the link you click to come here, you'll be able to go there after we get this video uploaded. It should be within the next day or so. Yes. So thank you all. If you have to drop off now, we really appreciate you coming. But if not, please stick around and we will, for the Q&A, we'll hit all the questions that we've got right now. And we'd love to have you here, and you can continue to drop questions in. So let's go to our Q&A. Okay. The first one, can you use more than one LMS provider? That's a question from Kim.
I think the answer might be yes. And I would also probably not recommend it.
I would agree. I would agree on both counts. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you could probably, if like looking at LearnDash and Sensei, I think you could probably have both plugins active at the same time. But the boost that you're getting from any one of these is being able to kind of have all of your course learning structure in one place. And like I said, right at the top, this is especially thinking that, I think I was talking about like from a corporate learning perspective, these are things that might have existed disparately that you're now able to bring together. That's kind of the focus, and having too many systems at play then can get, even more messy between managing content between the two of them or moving learners between the two of them. Obviously, if you're dealing with a really huge, multi-site network where you have different things being learned by different people in different places, then it might start to make sense based on, certain content and certain needs. But that would be a really edge case. That's probably the best I can think of as far as like when it might make sense to use more than one. Otherwise, I would really recommend digging into one, getting the most out of that. That's going to let you get the most payoff for the least sort of really tedious administrative work behind the scenes of moving things around between the different systems.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say do your vetting early. We've tried to do our best laying out the pros and cons of Sensei and LearnDash. There are obviously many others out there. Do your vetting. Again, Sensei is free, so you can try it. LearnDash, again, it does have a free trial. I think it's a 30-day money back. You'll have to pay up front, but I think it's 30-day money back on LearnDash, so you can try that as well. Obviously, there's that whole refund aspect of it but you can try them out. But I would say pick one. You're probably going to save yourself a lot of pain by doing that, like Nik said. Yeah. All right, next up. If I use WooCommerce memberships, do I also need WooCommerce subscriptions to access, if access to my course is a monthly charge? So let me repeat that again. If I use WooCommerce memberships, do I also need to WooCommerce subscriptions if access to my course is a monthly charge?
Most likely, yes. So the feature that subscriptions is adding is that automated recurring billing. So if you want to automatically charge folks every month, then that's what subscriptions is for. That's what you're going to need. If you want them to be able to pay for a month and then that's all they get, and then they can choose to pay for another month, that's obviously going to hurt that customer retention ability, but depending on your application, that might make more sense. And from a customer perspective, that might be what they expect. That you can do with just memberships. And so then the access is still recurring, but it's just not in an automated way. If you want to automate billing, subscriptions is definitely needed in that bundle, that stack.
Awesome. Thanks. Sorry, I'm dealing. I lost the Q&A screen. Great answer.
Oh no.
Right. Yeah, here we go. I'm back. All right. This is a question from Steven. Are both extensions for WooCommerce available as a bundle? So I think he's referring to subscriptions and memberships.
Oh, okay. I don't believe so. They're both sold through WooCommerce.com. However, if you are a GoDaddy member, there are. Sam's going to talk about this later, so I'm don't want to steal his thunder too much. There are some bundling options. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, and we will tell you about a hosting bundle that includes all of them coming up. But yes, I think you need to buy those separately. Other than if you find a place that offers a bundle, like we will talk about. All right. Next up from Kim. And I can actually hit this one if you want. Which LMS providers can you suggest that do offer certified or accredited courses? Josh jumped in. Actually, Josh works with Nik and myself. He jumped in. He researched this while we were doing the webinar, which is awesome. So thank you, Josh, for doing this.
Doing it live.
Yes, Josh said, you can offer certifications and badges via both Sensei and LearnDash, but LearnDash has an integration with BadgeOS, which connects your courses to the Credly platform. Credly is a third-party credentialing platform that allows you to offer verified badges and works well for things like associations or universities that need to link an awarded credential to an accredited course or institution. Now, he did point out that in our chat, Beth mentioned that she found BadgeOS to be less stable than GamiPress, but the BadgeOS does have this advantage now that it can link to Credly, so that if you need your badges to be more than sort of just little tokens of gamifying tokens or whatnot, that's advantages. Oh, but then Josh found something else. He continued to research, and he said GamiPress has its own integrations with Credly and also Badger, another platform, so you can use that too. Josh did like an entire research paper while we were doing this webinar. He's very impressive human being. So you can use that too, and then you can use both Sensei, and you can use that with Sensei, since I think GamiPress works with Sensei. So his short answer, and which will be our short answer, because he dug deep into this for us, which is fantastic. So the short answer is you can use a badging platform like Badger or Credly, and you can use those through GamiPress with either LMS, or in the case of Credly, directly through LearnDash with BadgeOS. So that is a full-fledged answer right there for if you want to do certified and accredited courses. So thank you, Josh, for jumping in on that one. Awesome.
Shout outs.
Yes, huge. You know what? I'll give him some sort of imaginary badge to congratulate him.
10 points.
Yeah. Yes, those are Gryffindor points galore for John. All right, a question from Donna. When using Sensei plus WooCommerce memberships, how does the learner become enrolled in the course after they purchase a membership?
Yeah. There's a few different options for that. Like we mentioned, memberships can operate on your WooCommerce site in ways that are beyond just the course integration. So you can have folks become a member and then have to purchase the course access through Sensei separately. So that would still be just like another WooCommerce purchase that they would need to make. There's also an integration that allows you to do that automatically, to say, okay, when folks join this certain membership plan, they have access to these courses. That's the enrollment process, essentially.
Right. All right. Next up from Steven. So for newbies, you'd recommend playing with Sensei and then possibly migrating to LearnDash?
Generally, yeah. I think there's like, I think we've said a few times, there's a lot of advantage in just kind of doing your homework and seeing what's right for you. Sensei is a pretty good way to do that homework, actually, because it's free and it is really well integrated with most WooCommerce sites. You can pretty easily get that in there and start to see what your learning system is going to look like and what your needs are. If you do start to run into some of the limitations of the platform, you'll find those pain points pretty quickly as you're actually trying to build it out. So it's a good way to do it if you're willing to, kind of do a hands-on exploration, for sure.
Yeah, let me give you an example and why I like to go with a pretty robust free platform when I'm just getting started on something. I was, for an old website of mine, I was trying to set up quizzes, not like BuzzFeed style quizzes, basically, who's, which Sex and the City character is your spirit animal, that kind of stuff. I mean, not that, but like the general that. And I found that I didn't have the quizzes built. I didn't have any of the content built. So there are a million different options for quizzes you can integrate to WordPress. I'm glad I picked a free one because it took me several months by the time my content was built out, by the time I had gotten things going, tested it out. These things take a long time. So if your quizzes are, if your courses are done, like your courses are ready, then maybe you can do the vetting beforehand and pick the platform you really want to use and install it, because then you'll be within that free trial window of something paid like LearnDash. You might not need the longer window of Sensei. But if you haven't, if you're just really just getting started, I would say just expect things to take quite a while. And since they'll probably take quite a while, give yourself the buffer room you need. So that would be why I would say for newbies, like it's often best to start with Sensei's good because it's a strong, robust platform, but one that's free. And so you're not having to make all that many compromises as you're getting started on there. And, as you're building out your courses and kind of getting familiar with how the whole process works.
Yeah, and if you do, I mean, it depends on your timeline and your use, obviously. But if you do want to get started there and know that you have a migration in mind down the road, I would definitely say to make sure that you're really familiar with the importing and exporting options of whatever you're choosing, so that you don't sink 100 courses into a platform that you're planning to abandon later. It can be tough. So I guess I would probably just say to familiarize yourself with those rather than trying to give any exact advice right now, because it's going to be really dependent on your specific content. But yeah, you'll definitely want to look into that ahead of time and see how big of a factor that'll be. And that might push you more towards I should probably get the more robust platform to start with. But it's just something to be aware of either way.
For sure. All right, just a couple more questions here. Albert asked, using social logins, do we get access to the information from those social sites?
I don't believe so. Depending on what information you're talking about, it's mostly just a way for the plugin itself really just allows folks to create a WooCommerce or WordPress account on your site using their social information. So it will connect, I believe, to their email, and then some of the other details vary by platform. As far as if it'll automatically set up a username based on their name on social or something like that. Generally, broadly across platforms, you're really just getting their email. You're not getting a whole bunch of social media data more broadly.
Right. But it will create when you use social. The way that social login works with WordPress WooCommerce is it will create an actual WordPress account for that person on your site as well. So, and then it's linking the account that it creates to that social login, or if they already have an account, it will then create that to link that to their social login. But no, in general, I don't think it's going to feed too much of their information across to you for a variety of reasons. But
yeah, right. I do see you did just ask Albert if you'd get phone number specifically. So that would be not included by default as far as like just getting pulled from social. There are ways to add fields to your registration form to where you can allow use customers or new members to give you that information, but it wouldn't be something that would be pulled automatically.
Yeah, and I also think that there's potential to run into trouble with getting people's phone, with using people's phone numbers when you haven't explicitly gotten permission for them for either text or phone calls. So it's a dicey area. That's it's usually best to get as explicit as possible of permission when you're dealing with people's phone numbers. And then the final question. So Albert also asked, who can help us deploy this? Nick, who can help us?
Yeah. Nice. That's going to be sort of depending on your use again. There will be different folks that'll be better at it. I know both Sensei and LearnDash have large support teams that are there to help you in using their plugin. They also have really great documentation in learning how to do it. If you're looking for help setting that up yourself, I would say to look into some WooCommerce familiar developers. So I know WooCommerce recommends folks from like Codable. They have their own Woo Experts program. These are developers who are used to building out custom solutions in the WooCommerce space that will be able to like work with you directly on getting it set up. If you're looking just for help in figuring out how to set it up, like I said, there's the documentation and support teams that can help with that sort of stuff.
Right, and likewise for things like WooCommerce memberships, WooCommerce subscriptions, you'll be I'll have. I mean, I can personally vouch quite well for the WooCommerce membership support team. We may in fact have one of them sitting on this webinar with us right now. But yeah. But as well for subscriptions. So I think as you're dealing with your extensions, all of these have great all have great support teams that can help you out as you're going along. And and we see people, there's some good chat here, good stuff in the chat here too for everyone who's interested in that. So I believe that is all for the questions. I think we hit them all. That was awesome. We got a really great volume of questions, great content of those questions, like just great stuff. So it's really awesome to see people this interested in this topic, and I'm really glad we could do our part to help you out here today. So just to wrap up, one thing, we've been sort of hinting at this throughout, but we did talk about the cost of some of these plugins and some of these extensions. So I would like to talk to you on behalf of us at GoDaddy Pro, which is our managed WordPress e-commerce hosting bundle, which has been recently updated to include nearly $6,000 worth of premium WooCommerce extensions, including both WooCommerce memberships and WooCommerce subscriptions are in there. So it also has things we talked about today, like Product Reviews Pro, Cart add-ons, and a whole host of others, Google Analytics Pro. So if you are looking for and you're considering new hosting for your WooCommerce site, please consider GoDaddy's new managed WordPress e-commerce hosting. It costs less than $20 a month, and you get all that plus a free domain, free SSL. We're here to help you. It's really a really great package. So we hope that that's something you'll consider as you're evaluating your hosting needs for your e-learning platform. So with that, we're going to wrap up. I'd like to say thank you. Nik, any final words?
Another thanks to Josh for his speedy dissertation while we wrangled this. I think that's the biggest one. Yeah,
that was awesome. And thanks to everyone who came for this. This has been a lot of fun. We will be doing these. We will be doing these monthly, covering different types of sites. If you missed it, last month we did a similar webinar on growing a fashion or apparel store, and that video is available on the GoDaddy events. And I'm not sure which one we're doing next month. I believe it may be health and beauty, but I can't guarantee that 100%, but we're going to be continuing to cover different WooCommerce solutions for different types of stores on a monthly basis here. And we hope that you'll continue to come to those events and other events here at GoDaddy, because we're doing a lot of great stuff now in this webinar space, and we hope you get a lot out of it. So for me, Sam, for Nik, for Josh, who is here helping us as well, thank you very much. And we look forward to doing this with you again sometime soon. I'm going to stop the recording.